Welcome to SpaceX. Today's star is the Greenwich 2 generation Q126711 building the Sandstone Circle. It's like a rich cup of coffee, full of flavor and worth savoring. We also have a special edition of version to show you. Let's do a detailed comparison with our original version and discover the differences in their details together. First, let's talk about the weight. The A version uses an alloy material, making it slightly heavier than the original version. However, this might be an unexpected situation. When comparing the two directly, since they both have black dials, it's basically impossible to see the color difference in the dials. However, the brown part of the outer ring in the original version appears a bit redder and deeper. The two-color ceramic ring is first made into a single-colored outer ring. This is then completed by dyeing, which is also a unique technique. Take the red and blue circle as an example. First, a red ceramic circle is made, and then half of it is dyed blue. This is why we can see a faint red through the blue. As for the texture of the outer ring, there is no obvious difference in the golden wedding dress on the engraving or the depth of the engraving. Compared with the original version A, the boundary between the two colors is clearer and more direct. He could not find any noticeable difference in the spacing between the thick and thin letters or in the colors he printed. The logo is also identical. The calendar font in the original version is slightly bolder than in the A version, but this is basically not an issue and is hard to distinguish. When looking at the hands from the front, you can't really see any differences. However, from the side, the original version is smoother. There is obvious edge grinding. A plate has slight burrs. The laser dots of the original version of the yellow-tailed yellow crown on the mirror are clearer and more orderly, while version A looks a bit messy. There is no difference in the thickness and size of the case and strap, the thickness of the mirror, the gap between the corner bezel and the case, and the most critical crown is also very difficult to distinguish. As for the color of the precious metal, it's hard to show the differences in the video. To the naked eye, the differences between the two in the same environment are very subtle. Perhaps because the original version is an older watch, it has some oxidation, making the color slightly deeper. The engravings on the side of the case in the original version are presented with more depth and clarity. As a modern watch, the push-pull micro adjustment feature is still very useful. There is no obvious difference in the overall texture between the two. However, the original crown version of the safety buckle has a more obvious embedded layering. In terms of the internal details, whether it's the engraved patterns or the security marks, there are no more differences or changes between the two. Regarding the movement, I'll provide a common C version here for a more comprehensive reference. The A version uses the Shanghai 32851 movement, while the C version uses the Dandong 32851 movement. Both movements can achieve a freezer storage time of about 70 hours, which is close to the official standard, but there are still obvious loopholes in the overall detail texture. For example, the size of the automatic rotor's axis and the crown logo differ between the two versions compared to the original. The brushing technique on the movement's plate is also far from the delicacy of the original. There are visible differences in the size and polish of the foundation screws, as well as the texture of the ruby and gold inserts. The blue hairspring texture of the movement's shock absorber and the structure of the cam lever show even more noticeable differences in the C version. The square weights on the balance wheel are features that neither of these versions possess. We can see that it's nearly impossible to distinguish between the original and the A version based on the luminescence effect. They are just too close. Overall, the price of the A version is surprisingly low, and the quality it presents is indeed unexpected. However, I still hope that friends who prefer the genuine product will keep their eyes open to avoid being deceived. If you have more questions, feel free to leave a comment. And we'll see you next time.